box.
Already
just
kicked us?
Wires through the box, Jeff.
All right, everyone, keep it clean. My son's here tonight.
We have a guest.
All right, welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. Oddball car culture.
That's a great start, Jeff.
No matter what
Nice.
kind of... Shut up. What kind of...
He's got an audience. He's nervous.
Just ignore it. It's like those big brushes behind Mental's head. No matter what kind of 11 champ or lucky track dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes from the world of low-dollar endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just a tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental. And we are Everyone Racers. Thank you all very much for coming back and listening to a T-rated tire episode of our podcast. It's episode 118. Merry Christmas. If you're not driving a car, and we're betting you are if you're listening to us, don't forget your E1R bingo card. Link's still in the show notes. We haven't updated it, but it's still funny.
And hey, we're also good to listen to, not just in the car, but in the garage, too.
Ooh,
when you need something mindless behind you that you don't really have to pay attention to, just for company.
Well, that's definitely us.
We're good at that.
Mental's brushes light up. It's very
They're Christmas
tree.
trees.
Chim chimney, chim chiroo.
They look like
You got to come here and clean my fluid with those things.
True. Or they look like big versions of what I clean the tube on the Camelback with. You know. Oh well. Internet's a little slow. Anyway.
Oh well. I hopefully you can hear me. I'm gonna do what I'm working on.
Yeah.
So yes, please, Jeff.
What
you working on?
So it's all Christmas and Christmas prep here.
Hey, Jen.
Baked like 40 loaves of
Jen.
pumpkin bread. I've been shopping, wrapping, dealing with relatives, planning 2 different dinners. We have a distributed cooking model here. So the next couple of days, I'll be doing a portion of the meal at 7 Fish. I'll be frying a turkey. So they all require some days ahead prep. I did manage a Garage Heroes in Training podcast, 2+ hours on the latest Star Wars movie with my son Josh, Craigers, his son Noah. So I just want to tell Jen Stewart, it's up now.
Jen.
Go ahead and listen.
Oh, great.
I did
Well
send her a
done,
Facebook
Josh.
message.
Oh, good.
Your wife just decided, lights out. Show's
She does
done.
that
Go to
all the
bed.
time. All the time she comes in the back.
Yep. Okay.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Chris, what are you working on?
We're working on the Mercedes. It's mostly done, got it running, and then it threw a check engine light for a cam slightly off code, so I have to then pull the driver's side bank back apart and retime the cams again on that side. This is what happens when you have 4 cams and all this crap, and it's all got to be exactly right. So, yeah, doing that. Wrapped a lot
You
of
make
presents.
it sound like it's just like, meh.
No, it's not.
You were
Yes.
so mad.
Yeah, that's why I stopped working on it for the day. I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to do
And
something else
then you
now.
came to bother me, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
what can we do? Oh, what can I do to help you? What can I do? And I was like, go to the garage.
I had done everything else.
I would like something that doesn't require German levels of precision.
Yes.
You should go help Jeff cook.
I had done everything else. I've fixed the exhaust hanger. I got the new tires on it. I checked the alignment. I even lubricated the window and sunroof tracks so they would operate
Yo,
smoothly.
that's too much. Cut that out.
It's absolutely not too much because that sunroof's getting a workout.
Yeah, so all of that works great. I had to redo the memory on the windows so they auto up, like all that stuff. It's all lovely. Now I just got to take the driver's side cams back out and retime them. Yay. Anyway. Yeah. Mental, what have you been doing?
Well, let's talk about what Chrissy's been doing. Because actually it sounds like this time you guys did something different.
I was trying not to ask Chrissy what she was doing like we always do and trying to do something different. But if you want to ask Chrissy what she's doing, then that's okay.
Go ahead, Chrissy. I think he's opening it up.
Either way, so just a lot of Christmas fun around here. We do all the wrapping, lots of the shopping. That's mostly what we do for Christmas. So we've been doing all of that. We had cookie time this weekend. I did 12 hours worth of cookie baking. So that was a lot. I don't even know how many batches we made. A lot. That was Saturday, and then I had wrote out some cards and gifts and. Yeah, worked a little bit today, work a little bit tomorrow, and then it's Christmas Eve. So all good. Nothing interesting. Mental, what are you doing?
So in our constant unpacking of the garage, we actually came across some of our Christmas lights. So now we're not the Grinches on the street. So we've got some of our broadcast Christmas lights. We have the blue and green lasers that shine on your house or up in the trees. So all of our palm trees are lit up with blue and green, and then we've got a lit up star and some other stuff.
Nothing says Christmas.
Blind?
Yeah. Nothing says Christmas like a blue and green lit up palm tree. That's Christmas.
Red and green. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I meant red and green.
Okay.
And no, unless you aim it directly into the cockpit, and actually usually that just signals, hey, land now. And they're landing anyway near my house, so it's fine. I actually did get some that, if you guys remember my cheapo Chinese eBay chopper, got it running again, and now I've got to put an exhaust on it. So there'll be a trip to the local cycle gear shop to get some silencers. We joined some of our local Vegas buddies in what it was our first time, but it's their annual tradition. So before we get into that, because Jeff, you're savvy on most things internet, and there's a good debate that crops up every year. So
meme culture is my jam.
Right. Chrissy, you've never seen this movie, but Jeff, Christmas movie or not, Die Hard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
totally. All right, yeah. So,
yeah, totally.
And I feel like most of our listeners will absolutely come down on the side of, yes, Die Hard is totally a Christmas movie. So every year, some local friends of ours, they've got a really nice setup in their backyard with a gazebo. He starts a fire. Everybody goes out and sits in the backyard, and we watch Die Hard. So we did that last night. So that's what we've been working on.
One guy at work in Christmas shirt day had a T-shirt that says 1988 Nakamura Plaza Christmas Party.
Plaza, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes.
I have to say this is my mom's favorite part of the show, of when somebody brings up a movie or TV show that I have no idea about.
I'm telling you, we need to add to the bingo card. Chrissy hasn't seen the movie.
Pretty much.
That could be right up there with Mental comes in third and something. Yeah, it's almost a free space. We should start putting those in the corners.
Actually, we don't talk that much movies.
Oh, no. But it happens every show that we talk about a video.
Yeah,
exactly.
We don't have to talk that many movies because Chrissy hasn't seen any of them.
Or something on
every once
YouTube,
in a while, I surprise you.
Yes, you absolutely do. So, Jeff, do you have the conductor horn there? Because I feel like it's now time for us to segue into the next phase of our show.
I don't know. my son put it on the floor. Hey, Josh, you still there?
So he didn't know where it went. So put it on the floor.
It goes to the floor. It goes to the floor.
Exactly. Josh, say news and notes.
News and notes.
Oh, somebody just lost
Sorry,
their...
Sorry, Erling.
Sorry, Erling.
The 11-year-old doesn't modulate the voice.
Sorry, Erling.
The bullhorn. So anyway, here's the news and notes. Rebestos just announced that they have launched a brand new performance and racing website. So you can get your ST43s straight from Rebestos.
Or not, because I tried to go
not?
on, and I couldn't. They don't have the Acura Integra Type R listed on there to even try to get our pads from, which is what our front brakes are.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, and it's not like that's a
ITR?
weird car for motorsports. And
it's the minivan or the RDX, and yeah,
they didn't have an Integra at all. The only Acura they had was the NSX, and I don't want race pads for that, really. So, anyway, back to your story, Jeff. But I'm just going to keep calling Porterfield.
Yeah. It's never going on track again, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess Porterfield will continue to get our business. Really cool graphs of all kinds of testing data, and it seems like the ST43. There's something called an ST45. Which they claim is their endurance brake. I feel like I need to call them and be like, no, change your website. Your website's wrong. ST43 is like the official endurance racing brake.
I think the
Did
45
they mention
is...
that at SEMA?
Yeah, the 45, Jeff, is for actual sticky tires. I think the 43 has a little less friction coefficient, so it works a little better with 200 tread wears. So there's your actual answer if you want to know.
Sure.
Well, see, you guys talked to the Ray Bestos people, didn't you? Or was
No. Ray Bestos
right.
was not. We did not see them at SEMA.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know who was the Hawk guy that knew our setup as soon as we said Civic.
Every single person I talked to said that the ST43 was the brake for Lemons. And they said, our brakes are going to be almost as good as the ST43s, or we're using the ST43s as our model. So,
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
anyway, check it out. Link in the show notes.
All right. What else we got up there, Jeff? We got some. I think we all got
yes.
some major news in our inbox.
So Lemons just introduced the year-end winners. So Rude got in his little computer and looked at all of his charts and data streams, and
then they pulled some of it right out of their butts.
Yeah, exactly. I will hold on a second. My son is having headphone problems.
Okay, do you want me to keep going?
He
for
just
you, Jeff?
left. No, he got it. We're all good now.
That's just because
He said this is so
Exactly.
boring.
So I'm going to suggest that we all open up the charts so that we can talk about who won, but we'll go over first the constructor and the constructor champion.
Incidentally, the link to this will be in our show notes.
Yeah. So constructor champion was BMW. Boring. They didn't even put on a picture. They refused to. And then they said, well, forget that. Since we can pick anything we want to out of our butt, we're going to make the constructor champion Mitsubishi. And they said that the real constructors champion, there were 4 Mitsubishis that all charted this year, including a Starion that won IOE and a Mitsubishi powered Plymouth Duster that somehow finished a race P2. So
That's crazy.
So
the
4
way.
Mitsubishi motors, but only 3 cars. Okay.
Why would somebody put that in a car?
No,
it came that
Dodge
way.
used
Came.
it.
Oh.
Yeah, Chrysler has a history of rebadging various terrible other cars, namely Mitsubishis, but also like the Plymouth, the Holden something or Hillman
Wasn't a
Cricket.
Holden.
The
Hillman. Yeah, the
Hillman
Hillman.
Cricket was the Plymouth Cricket or something along those lines, and like you could
Plymouth
one point,
Arrow.
right? You could buy at one point all kinds of ridiculous things in a Chrysler showroom, like British cars, Japanese cars, a Volkswagen powered Omni, which is actually French. The whole thing was a mess in the 70s, and it continued into the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they DSM thing, and they had partnerships. It got ugly.
Yeah.
I feel like these are the Mitsubishi motors that the ones that were just built right, the ones that were built on a Tuesday after, a wrestle weekend, and they're just the motors that were left. Like all the other ones, these are the ones that should have been used for breeding purposes because they're just the only Mitsubishi motors that are still running.
Well, it shows you how bad Chrysler is when they have to go to Mitsubishi to get better parts. I know there were some other champions, so I'm going to turn the microphone over. Go, Chrissy.
The deconstructor champion was a Corvette. 8 different Corvettes ran Lemons, and we had the Chevy unveiling their Gen 8. Incredibly, one finished not the Gen 8, one of the Corvettes that ran in Lemons finished 3rd overall at Ridge, and that was a C3 powered by a BMW 6. Others
so they made a crappy car boring.
Sure.
But it actually worked, which is, hey, if a Disco Vet is running
Boring.
a BMW motor and it's still running, it's still kind of cool because it's
Yep.
Disco Vet.
And all the rest of them that ran were C4s that variously emitted blue smoke, startling noises, and occasionally flames. Yep.
That's a Corvette, man.
Right?
So the Copa de Bondo went to Salty Thunder Racing. Now, we've had the pleasure of meeting the gentleman who runs that team. We were out in Denver. And he is specifically stupid enough not to run just one Fiero, but 2.
2, count them 2.
Seriously.
Yeah. So, and even better, he lives in Utah. It's like Salt Lake, and races at the Denver races. And he has 1 truck and 1 trailer. He drives 1 Fiero out, leaves it there, drives home to Salt Lake City from Denver, not a short drive, picks up the other one, brings that to the track, and you have to do that again when you go home. So he makes 4 trips back just for one race to do this, to race a Fiero. Great guy, though. Super nice. Always have great themes and costumes and bring good times to the paddock. So, hey,
holy
they got the top prize.
crap.
Yeah.
I've done that drive. It is darn near a day, and you spend a disproportionate amount of it at driving at 6,000 feet across Wyoming.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. He deserves it. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, anyway, good job on you guys there. Some team and driver championship. There's we'll go through a bit of the regional ones, but hey, apparently Ginger Race Team is following the model that so many before have come to use. And we are not the originators of this. We blatantly stole it too from Rally Baby back in the day. But by racing all of the cars everywhere they go, even though they're mostly boring BMWs, Ginger Race Team came in on top. They didn't get an overall win, but they just had a lot of cars and a lot of good performances. So they were ahead of Tetanus for second place, and those schmucks at Three Puddle Mafia for third.
That's like they have double our points.
Yeah, almost.
Ginger Race Team. That's crazy.
Well, look at that. Like they hit 6 cars at Road Atlanta, for example. So
That's
we
a
don't
lot.
know. We don't know that many people.
We'd start getting like. I would say we could get Garage Heroes to run under our banner, but I really don't want them to. Sorry, Bill.
Exactly. Damn.
Sorry, not
Shots
sorry.
fired.
Ouch.
I don't think Bill's upset by that one.
No. We should say that there's a lot of people on the National that we always see. Lemonade, Eyesore, Save the Tatas, Knox Vegas, Cerveza. If you want to know who's good, just go read those national champions, because some people bring a lot of cars, but if you look at the meat of the list, there's some damn good racers down there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we talk about the East, West, South?
Well, let's
Which
do
one
national
first?
drivers first. Let's say quick. Chris Blizzard out in he's primarily based in California, but he flies everywhere and starts to race. He's kind of following the Anton Lovett model, who came in 4th this year, of fly around and drive other people's stuff, and they get you a driver's championship or hit 2nd in a row. Nice job, Chris. He's a nice guy too. So there you go.
He is.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons he flies around, is everybody likes having him around.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
East.
Everyone. Oh, East. You want to do East first?
Why
I
don't
was
you
pulling
talk
out-
about the East, Jet? Well, I'm going in order.
Sure.
There's all that. So why
I
don't you
was
take the
punching
East?
them differently. So we won. Momrath second. Again, we know all these people because we know all these people. Punisher GP, Tire Festival, Bazinga, Silly Nannies. Silly Nannies, we got to talk about them really quick. So they don't seem to register their entire team under the same name. So they actually have, let's see, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 9th, with Garage Heroes in the middle and 8th. Congratulations, Bill, I guess. I don't know.
We like to call that the shower portion of the standings. So you've got the Garage Heroes on either side in the showers with the silly minis.
If they actually would
It's
have
okay to leave
registered,
the door open,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have registered together, they would have been 3rd.
Well, doing
So that
simple
they're not.
things seems hard for them. If just watch them load their trailer. That's all I'll
Exactly.
That was a good time.
I was going to say.
say. Yeah.
You know who I was surprised to see in the top 10 there? The Great Gobs of Oil.
Well, they have 2 or 3 cars, and I think if you bring multiple cars to every race, you kind of just get the points by showing up, as we know. Yeah.
Drivers from the East, Daniel Perlicki, Amanda Tully,
this?
James Mansauer. Anybody know who Daniel Perlicki is?
No, I
No.
mean, Amanda and James, I know they're Momrath, but I don't know who Dan is.
Yeah. Daniel is one of the Silly Nannies. I have no idea which one. I'm sure he's Polish. I'm sure
I was going to say
he's
he's probably the Polish one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he's the guy who, whatever it is, he somehow has trumped all the rest of the guys on their team, because I don't see.
He's the only
Another-
organized one. So he's the one that ends up registering all the cars,
Yeah,
and
just
therefore
like
he's
Chris.
on all the cars, and therefore
That's
he gets
exactly
that.
what it is.
Which is the same way
He must.
That's right. That's how I won the East driver standings a couple of years ago, was because I was registered on all of our cars, and we didn't always have 4 drivers, so I got extra points.
Well, I don't.
Sometimes you were, yeah.
I don't see any other of the silly nannies in the top 10, except maybe way down at the bottom. But here's another interesting piece: Dean Halter, Matt Freitas, all in the, what are they, like 12, 13, somewhere in there.
Nice.
Cool.
I do want to acknowledge James and Amanda, because usually that's just a 2 or 3 driver show, and they only run the one car. I mean, that is like legitimately earning those driver standings.
Yeah, Eric gave
They
him a
won.
shout out in the national championship, basically saying these 2 drivers with one car almost won the national championship. So
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Midwest.
Moving
What's going
on.
Midwest, I got to punch the button. Who's doing Midwest?
You've got we've got Cone Killer, Wisconsin Crap Racing, and Lemonade. Lemonade, they're usually a powerhouse wherever they show up. I would think probably a lot of their Midwest points, lack of Midwest points, is because they race a lot of East Coast racing and kind of spread out their standings.
I've never seen them on the East Coast, but okay, no problem.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No, it's
golf.
Midwest.
Yeah, golf, sure.
Golf.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep. And Midwest
My
drivers.
favorite team on this list is the Petrosexuals, because SpaghettiOs.
True.
Good one. Yeah. Do we know any of those drivers?
I don't. Nathan
Sloman.
Schloman and Steve Peterson and Mark Johns. I'm only looking at the top 3, Jeff, that you put in the notes.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
those? Yeah.
I
So
when
why
I
are you
said,
going to the?
I said
the
click
page?
on the list and look.
No,
at the page.
no, because then
No, that's too much work.
All right. All right. So in the South, we we know the Ginger Race team. It's a real time. They're Honda team, aren't they?
So
Oh,
real
yeah.
time is, yeah. Ginger's
Yeah,
BMWs,
all right.
Real Time's Honda. And Burp
That's
is
cool.
a E36 with the beer taps on the back.
All right.
That's, they
Oh,
do-
that's right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they do pretty well. They're fine out there. Seem to do well. Good job.
Save the Tatas, Onset, and Knox Vegas also pulling up top 5 in there.
Well, and in the Gulf standings, Ginger Race Team, Onset, and Ron Bergen Z, and I think that just comes down to that they had a couple of wins or like top 5s. I know they won Houston when we were down
Yeah.
there.
That gets them the 13 points they have. It's 3 to enter and 10 to win. So
Yeah,
that's
there you
what that
go.
is.
So it
One
is
win.
the Houston win.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And Gulf driver standings. I just like this guy's name. Nice job. Van Duke.
If that's your real name.
Well,
He totally
yeah.
made that up.
If he did, then good job. That's nice. One of
he's
the Duke boys.
consistent though.
The lesser known, not the Charger, not the Jeep, not the truck, the van.
Man.
The
Of the
van.
Duke family.
All right. Now, out west, I think I defaulted to this because I'm the west guy. Eyesore Racing, they show up, they run well, they do well. Hella Shitty, they have their Umbrella Boys as well. Cerveza, it's still going strong. How many, we covered this a couple of shows ago. How many races have they had now on that car? The one of the
No
races
idea.
winningest cars, but yeah, they're up to-
Eyesore is over 50 races at this point.
Eyesore,
On
yeah.
that on the one Miata. Although now I think they replaced the front half once and most of the back half once, so it's like, George Washington's hatchet. I replaced the handle twice and the head 3 times, and still George Washington's hatchet. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Cerveza's just doing it, just one car, one team, winning races, doing well, and then of course, Onset and Tetanus.
Yep.
Moving out to the drivers out there, we know most or a lot of these people. The top driver again, Christopher Blizzard, because he is West Coast based, but he flies
is.
around and does a lot of stuff. Dan Earlrich, Sarah Fairfield, and Ryan Meeks. Congrats
Sarah-
to those folks.
Sarah and Ryan are on Eyesore. So
Yeah, well, they all tracks. So, folks, if you want to see your name on that listing, make a lot more friends.
It's
or
funny.
drive better.
True. The Onset Tetanus crew, not only do they go to a lot of races, but they go to a lot of races in a lot of regions, because they may not have won every region, but you can see like Anton and some of the other Onset Tetanus as a team charting in, I think, 3 different regions.
Well, they used to be. Tetanus was primarily golf based, but now the
And-
principals are Midwest, Colorado, and it's very easy for them to get to California.
Yeah, and Anton's always been California, so yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
Now, moving on to some other stuff, upcoming races going into their final season race, the Champ Car standings. Currently, as of 18 December, first is the Visceral Racing Group in an 87.944. They're poised to win the championship. Second, Cone Crushers in a, wait for it, 87.944. And third is rbank/90racing.com in a 91 CRX. And this coming weekend is going to be their final regular season race at Sebring. The championship is actually going to be at Sonoma in February, but since this is happening after the holidays, before our next recording, so Bill Strong and his crew, they're headed down there. And right now that is going to be on Sebring, 82 cars, 24 of those are BMWs. Boring. 21 Miatas, only 2 Hondas. Half of that Honda field is actually going to be our friends Fat Crack Racing. 5 P cars and a hot rod Lincoln Mark 8. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy it.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Listener feed. Oh.
Turn it on.
Listener feedback time.
How do you do the tube of mockery when you're holding the bullhorn of mockery?
Jeff is a special kind of talented. So
Right. I have a degree in broadcast communications, in case you haven't heard.
yeah, helps him every day. So now listener feedback, because he is Dr. Florida Man. Donnie posted on his own Instagram, quote, "If you're taking advice from at Everyone Racers this week, keep in mind a gallon of water weighs 23% more than a gallon of gasoline. You're going to be lifting 9.3 more pounds training over the winter with water than gasoline. Not only will be learning how to use your jugs, but you'll be strength training as well." It's a great top tip there, Donnie. Thanks for doing that math.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
tough.
Question. All of us who have seen Donnie in the flesh, think he knows anything about weight training?
Actually, yes.
Maybe.
He knows something about exercising his arms. But
That's true.
uh,
Yes, that's a shot.
yes, I say, no, dude, I've seen, every time I see Donnie, there is notably less of him. He is really? Actually, yeah, no, he
I
is,
haven't seen him since Pittsburgh, so.
yeah, no, he is actively addressing that because he wants to be a faster driver.
Oh,
But-
I take it back then.
Oh.
Good job for you.
Giant Dave, not to be outdone, called Dr. Florida Man out on our IG post, and he said, "Haven't listened yet, but your Christmas break homework is to start listening to E1R, and 2, quit being stubborn on the needed upgrades to trim down your pit stop times."
So, help me out on the pronunciation. Dan, did we decide it's Guileless?
Guileless. It is Guileless.
Whew. Dan
told
Guileless
us.
showed up on our Facebook. I know he told us, but I don't remember. Showed up on our Facebook with a pair of great tips. He said, "Great episode." He said, "Here's 2 hot tips. Videotape your pit stops to see what you can do better." And I totally love this idea. Instead of dropping ice in his coolers and scooping out water, he just swaps the cooler. He's got a cooler with ice and water in it, the right amount of ice and water. He unbuckles, unsnaps the 2 tubes, drops the other one in, snaps on the tubes, does his ratchet strap, done. He thinks it's faster.
probably is.
It probably is. The problem is, I think our electrical connection would be tough to do with your gloves on.
It just needs to be a little bit more robust. It's a quick plug-in. It only goes in one way.
Yeah.
And it's only one plug, but it's not the strongest thing. Like we could beef that up a little bit and do that. But really,
Well, he designed.
we need a better mounting system as opposed to a ratchet strap over the top tied down to whatever hole we can find on the floor.
And
Yeah.
the problem is, the bigger problem is that the floor is not flat where it is, so it is sitting on
Yeah.
a corner.
At least once a weekend, one of our coolers
We
goes
dump
over,
it.
right?
We've gotten
Oh, yeah.
better at it.
Yeah.
The Civic one
I
usually
love
doesn't
the
fall
idea,
over.
though.
Yeah,
It's a great idea.
it is. Absolutely.
Okay. And Chrissy again agreed about the importance of pit stops. Thanks for the subject. Pit stops are by far the worst of our races, so all insight on how to be better are great. But he opened with, "The conductor loudspeaker is still hilarious. Much approved."
Cool. You know who else I hear likes the conductor loudspeaker? Hi. What's going on?
Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Well,
Sure your
fair waffle.
That's it.
What?
Hi, Chrissy's mom. I'm sure you're baking on cookies. It's Christmas.
Okay.
Yep.
It is Christmas. Okay, so main topic time. Okay, so according to a year-old article on The Atlantic, there are over 75,000 iRacing users, and the pros don't usually rank in the top 20. More than a few amateur teams have sim time as a requirement. There's no doubt this is a part of our future. So Chris and I took the plunge. Let's talk about it. You can do it too. Go ahead.
So,
We're going to talk about all the different parts.
I make light of this, but I genuinely, I probably text Chris once a week with his inputs on completely non-racing related subjects, because I got a glimpse of his research mindset when I bought Sandy, the Land Rover, and he sent me a condensed file of everything that he had used to research his particular year choice of Land Rover, and then why he chose that Land Rover and everything he knew about that particular Land Rover. This is also how I'm ending up with a Mercedes. So given your mindset, when you were choosing your components, and we're going to go over those components because I want to hear it, but I want to know where your priorities were.
Well, it really was about the best value I could get. We didn't want to get something stupid expensive, but I wanted something that was going to work well and work well for a little while. It wasn't just going to muddle through. Because if we're going to do this, let's try to do it right enough. So some of the specs you're going to need. First off, we need a computer. And you can be a laptop or a desktop. I chose a desktop because it was cheaper for the performance you get, and we're not going to really tote it around very much, so that seems okay. So some of the necessary specs, we're going to geek out a little bit if you care about this kind of thing. Really a great thing to do is just go to iRacing's website, and they say most of this. You need a 4-core CPU or better. Some examples are like AMD, FX, Intel Core i5, Ryzen's. A bit about CPU ratings. In the Intel world, the numbers, the higher the number, the better it is. So i3 is the base, and then i5 is better, i7 is better than that, i9 is better than that. On Ryzen, it's the same thing. They have 3, 5, 7, 9. So the higher the number, the better it is. So you notice that iRacing says you only need a Core i5. There you go. That's where you get started. So
I was gonna say, this is really hard to figure out. Wait. The bigger the number, the faster.
Yeah. You got it. That's I'm trying to dumb this down.
Then they're going to change the letter someday. It's going to be like the J one all of a sudden.
Exactly.
You guys mock that, but I remember the days of the 476XX and having a P75 processor, so they will change it.
8086. So beyond the 3579,
I had an 8086. That's old.
Yeah. Commodore 64. So beyond that, there's a 4-digit number after all of them. Like, we have the one we ended up with was a Ryzen 5 3600. So of the 3600, the 3 is also better than the 1s or 2s because they make a Ryzen 5, 1600, etc. So even within the different grades, there are grades. So this is supposedly pretty decent for the money. So you need a 5 or better, and ideally it's not just the base model 5 if you want it to last. So for graphics card, you need at least a 2 gigabyte dedicated graphics card, not just the one that's inherent on the chip. You need a separate graphics card. So examples are like NVIDIA GeForce GTX, ATI Radeons. We ended up with a NVIDIA GTX 1660, which is a 6 gig graphic card. So mental you were first.
And to that end, I told you guys that I've got an Air Force buddy, but his side business is building computers for gamers and things like that. And I had casually mentioned to him I wanted to do this. And much like people on this podcast, it's a problem to solve. He's already built the computer. And especially with, and you guys will get to this, with the video system you guys are using, you actually can't overspend on that video card. He was telling me about that the other night.
Yeah. Jeff?
I was just going to mention that in my research, because I'm a laptop guy, I don't have a desktop, it's very hard to find laptops that are running dedicated video cards with a lot of memory on it. Yeah. So a lot of times your really expensive laptops are gonna fall short in this. They're gonna have great processors. They're gonna have onboard memory. They're gonna have, everything except a dedicated graphics card. So be careful on that if you happen to be a laptop guy like I am.
And the whole point of this is to start training your eyes. And so if your video's lagging, what are you doing?
Well, that's why we went with the desktop. I haven't owned a desktop PC since an iMac in like 2004. I think was the last non-laptop I had. So and we bought this only to do this thing. So there we go. But graphics card, yeah, it's critical. RAM. You need some RAM. You need at least 8 gigs of RAM. RAM's also pretty cheap, though, so it's an easy thing to upgrade. Ours came with 16, which is apparently more than we're going to need for a while. Hard drives. You need 10 gigabytes of free space. That's not that much. If you're buying new, you probably want to buy something with a solid-state drive as opposed to the old spinny metal hard drives because they're just a lot faster. And, if you're not going to be using it for storing massive amounts of pictures and videos and music and data, you don't need a 2T drive. Ours has a 512 SSD, which is way more than we're ever going to use on this thing. And we could always add more later because it's a desktop. It's got huge amounts of room inside this giant case. It also has lights and spinny lights and fans.
I was gonna say,
it lights up.
It has a remote control.
Oh, yeah. You can make it like disco on its own. But apparently cooling is a real thing with these. Like heavy-duty gaming computers are liquid-cooled. Like you actually hook it up to a liquid source to keep it cool. This one's just air-cooled. It's not going to be as reliable.
If you're racing the Lemons tracks, make sure it's just water in that liquid cool.
Absolutely.
No any.
Yeah. Yeah. And Yo Man likes his air-cooled ones, though, so it's okay. Yes, Mental.
And he puts them behind the seat. I don't know what that's all about. This is the only thing left over from my computer knowledge of the late, early 90s, late 90s, is when you're thinking about RAM, think of that as a surge pump. So if you're running a lot through there, that's why you need to upgrade your RAM.
Good way to go. Yeah, it's the stuff it uses for brief times of memory. It's good. Operating system, you got to run Windows. At this point, just run Windows 10 because the support for 7 is gone. Don't bother with 8. Just get 10 and be done with it.
As a PC guy and probably the only PC person on the podcast at the moment, Windows 10 is a great platform in general. Anybody who's out there not running Windows 10 because, I don't like to do it, Microsoft, Windows 10 fixed a lot of problems. Just run it in general.
Yeah.
I've heard that lie so many times.
I use Windows 10 at work, and I have it on this computer, and I say I'm annoyed by it, about how it does things compared to the Mac, but whatever. Anyway.
You're always annoyed.
Yeah.
It's not a Mac. That's the problem.
Well, it doesn't. It's
no,
just
totally.
I'm
annoyed when I'm on Macs. I know.
It's a little bit less intuitive. Like it just doesn't just work as well. You have to do more to make it work, and I don't want to do it. I just want, I just want to plug the wire in and have it work. But no, I have to. Do you want to turn that on? Yes, I want to turn that on. Are you sure you want to? Yes, I want to turn that on. Are you sure you want? Yes. It's supposed to just work.
It looks like you're trying to turn something on. Would you like some help with that?
Oh, it looks like you're trying to write a suicide note.
Just
Would you like
move
some help with that? All right.
Move on.
Anyway, our computer, all the specs I said, ours, I got a Black Friday deal on Amazon. It was about $750, including a keyboard and mouse shipped, and it's worked great so far. So there's that.
Wired or wireless? Keyboard and mouse.
Wired, but that's cheap to get. But you do actually need a keyboard and mouse, no matter what. You do need that because it's a computer. You still have to run this program. You don't just turn it on and iRacing shows up. It's an application. All right. You need,
then you need to push test and.
But if it was a Mac, it probably would.
Yeah. So you need pedals, you need a wheel, and you need a shifter. So you can range from pretty crappy, the kind that your 5-year-old uses on their, just to. Their plastic game, or to a full-out metal pedals with hydraulics and all that stuff for many thousands of dollars. The kind of easy button mid-range is a Logitech G29 or G920. It's $225 for all three of those components. A Thrustmaster, which is just fun to say, T300 or TX.
Yeah.
Yep, that's another good option. So one of those are kind of good mid-range stuff. Mental.
So on those steering wheels, because this has always been the curse of watching simulators, is the lack of correspondence with the motion of your steering wheel versus a real car. And so what is your range of motion on that G920?
Oh, I mean, it'll go plenty, but I never really maxed
Like
it
how many
out.
turns? Okay,
Lock
how
to
many
lock.
turns
Yeah, I know.
lock to lock? Yeah.
I don't really know. Like, I've not turned lock to lock, but when you're driving it, it's totally makes sense. It's not like you're turning it half a turn to go around a corner. Like, you turn your wheel hands and it works.
No, it's very much like you're driving.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need to go lock to lock. Like even when I've spun and I've needed to like turn a lot to get back onto track, it's still fine. Like it's just like, it's pretty much just like a real wheel.
It's
And
basically
the
it's a
thing
non-issue, Mental. It's a non-issue.
And I asked that because I think the 920 refers to the number of degrees
Exactly what I was going to say.
that the steering wheel can go, and that
But-
I think that you guys got exactly what you want, because if you get just a 180 wheel, it's not going to be realistic and it's not going to correspond.
Oh, yeah, no, this one's exactly like a car.
As far as I could tell in my research, none of them are 180. Most of them are like 720, and 920 is bragging because they're 200 degrees more.
Yeah, but a lot of times
Oh.
the cars aren't going to have that far of a steering rack. Like, the steering isn't going to be slow in the cars you're using, so you're never even going to get that far. Because
So you're not driving the Rolls Royce.
no, surprisingly, iRacing
No.
does not have a 69 roll Silver Shadow. Who knew?
What?
I know. Well, it's because you'd make one lap and
God.
have to pit because your brakes were on fire. All right.
That's a simulator. That's that's it's
Good.
like
You
the
can
Swedish thing.
see the smoke in the mirror. Yep. All right. You need to be able to see what you're doing. So your choices are essentially one monitor, 3 monitors, or a virtual reality of some sort. Monitors take up a ton of space. Like, putting 3 decent sized monitors in the curve in front of you is a lot of room. I mean, it gives you a good view, but like we're comparing other people's setups on our little Slack channel, and like Tom Lamino's is enormous, where ours with no monitor is like
huge.
It doesn't take up much room at all, because it's just where someone's sitting. So that's something to know with monitors. You do have to have a sturdy mount to hold all these monitors up and the HDMI cables to run them all. So that's that. It is, though, much easier just to get in and drive, because you get in, you sit down, you've got your monitor right there to run the computer. You click, launch the program, and boom, there it goes, 3 monitors right there. VR, though, is completely immersive. You have this headset on, you have the earbuds in for the sound. You're in that world. You have no idea what's going on around you, for better or worse. It is a little bit more
Like Christmas dinner last night because he was playing.
I was.
So
It wasn't Christmas.
I said,
dinner.
hello.
I had no idea.
Hello.
Chrissy, I'm
driving,
Chrissy, I'm gonna let you on a little secret. He doesn't care.
I was driving Daytona in a NASCAR truck at the time, which I have to say was kind of boring. We'll talk about that later.
Oh God, it's a left turn. Oh God, it's a left turn.
Yeah. So VR, it's super immersive. It's more expensive, and you need a more powerful computer to run it well. But you can also use it for other stuff. Like if you like gaming in general, it's kind of neat. Like Vader Immortal came with it, so I'm in the lightsaber dojo and using the Force and
So
stuff.
there.
Yeah. So like I've tried that mostly just to kind of get used to using VR, and it's neat. It's a toy. It's a big kid toy, but it's still kind of fun. So, but you don't need all this really. Like you can just get away with a single monitor, and go that way too. So you have kind of 3 separate choices there. Mental.
So with the VR, did you need to somehow correlate the location of your gear shifter? Because I imagine you set it up to mimic the Honda as much as possible. And in the VR world, does it show up in the same place? Do you have to place it there as some sort of setting option?
No, they're completely separate. The shifter is just an actual H pattern shifter, 6-speed, that sits on a metal stand to the right of the keyboard, or the right of the steering wheel, right where you'd expect it to be. It's completely intuitive, and you don't see yourself shift in the game. Like you just have your hands are always on the wheel.
That part of the
You
cockpit,
see the cockpit perfectly. You can
you
look
see
around,
everything
you
else,
see
you
the
just
dash,
don't
you see
see-
everything, but your hands always
You're
remain on the
using
wheel.
flappy paddles.
Well, your hands always remain on the wheel, and you can just use the flappy paddles. You don't need the H pattern shifter, even if you're running a street car. You can just use the flappy paddles, and in fact, a lot of the cars in the game, outside of the normal sports cars, are sequential shift, whether they be like a Legends car is sequential shift. The International Rallycross stuff, the trophy truck that it's got, all that crap is all sequential. And the way to do the sequential on the H pattern is kind of annoying. It's you put it into first for an upshift and fourth is a downshift. So it takes a significant amount of learning to do that, where otherwise just flappy paddles are easy. So what you do is you just change your settings before you're racing the different kinds of cars to go tell it this is upshift, this is downshift, and you can change it that way. But for, we're doing this mostly to do it for sports cars for actual what we do. So the H pattern is nice because you can heel toe, like if actually it works, you can feel the difference. You can get your rhythm for shifting, like if you're trying to get into rhythm on a track before you go, you're going to get used to, all right, I need to brake here, clutch here, etc. A little more realistically than if you were just flappy paddling. So,
what automotive for the iRacing? I think their baseline was, I want to say it was a Solstice. Like they had a sponsorship deal when they were first developing the software. What are your normal car options?
We will get there. We'll talk more about that.
Okay, excellent. Now, the other aspect of sim racing is a lot of people, you're trying to simulate as much as humanly possible. So a lot of the monitor options, I've seen folks actually put on their Hans and put on their helmet and get in there and actually, or if you want to get full crazy, throw on their suit and sweat because, oh God, it's just like racing at home. Is there any sort of helmet option with the Oculus so you feel the mass on your skull? Or is the Oculus?
There are all kinds of accessories.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
The Oculus is so heavy that you don't. You wouldn't be able to wear a helmet.
It's as heavy as your helmet almost.
It absolutely is. When you get out of, when you're done with it, we end up with little red marks under your like right on your cheekbones, and because the whole helmet is laying on your face. So I would not suggest that.
Well, they do make headgear things to hold it up a little bit better than the strap that comes with it, so that you don't have as much of the problem Chrissy's talking about, and so that it just kind of sits a little better. So you could probably find something that would work, and maybe if you had like a big iPort open face helmet, you could probably get it to fit on there, but it'd be tough. I haven't looked at the accessories there to see, so go take a look.
Or if you got an old crappy helmet, cut it or something. I don't know.
Sure.
No, I think you're so submerged anyway. Like you can see your arms wearing a suit. So like I don't know. I don't think you need it. I feel like there's like most of the cars we were having had window nets. Like you're in it. Like especially with the Oculus. I don't think you don't need a suit to do it.
I don't see any value in adding like shoes. Yes, maybe gloves, but mostly like decent shoes. Like yes, I've done it in flip flops and bare feet. But if you're trying to practice for a race, you're going to get more out of it if you have decent shoes on. So.
And you guys
folks,
have the
he's talking about simulating, not racing. Save your angry tweets about Chris racing in flip flops. He's not Florida Man.
Yeah.
You have the Oculus Rift, is that correct?
We have the Quest. Which is the Rift runs only off of a PC, corded all the time. The Quest can run completely independently on its own, no cords, but we have to plug it into the computer and basically make it emulate a Rift to do what we're doing. So
you might as well, if the Quest is more money, just buy the Rift.
They're about the same price. So apparently the Rift is very slightly better visual resolution, but we thought the versatility of the Quest for the same price would be nice to have. So that's why we bought the Quest instead of the Rift.
Star Wars Dojo. Duh.
I was going to say definitely better for swinging your lightsaber around.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So seats, you got to have a seat and a seat mount. So first off, a seat, you can just have a folding chair. Some people, I kind of laugh, they have like full out the real racing like helmet containment seats and like $1,000 seat for their simulator. And they have belts too. I don't know why you need belts unless you have a motion sim. You don't need a belt. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. Just get something comfortable so you can sit in it, and something with a good spatial relationship between you and all the controls. Like you don't want it, your steering wheel way up out in front of you or up too high, or somewhere that's not going to be realistic. Most stands come with a seat because most people don't just have extra car seats littering their basement like all the Lemons teams that I know do. So
it's like I know a whole lot of race team with a lot of expired seats sitting around,
or like just the stock seats out of your car. Like so, I found the only stand I could find that didn't have a monitor stand and didn't have a seat on it. And so I saved a fair amount of money by doing that. It was only about, $150, I think. It's kind of a no-name Amazon one, no seat. But, I came with brackets. I had to weld on a piece of angle iron to extend the brackets enough to fit the seat from the 300ZX. I'm using the passenger seat from the Z. So, but that works great. It's comfortable. It fits right. It's just fine. So
you left the seat heaters in there, right? So when you're down in the basement.
Oh, ours is the base model. Kidding me? It doesn't have seat heaters.
No. Also, this is in the living room, so you don't need to be.
Yeah, it's in the second living room. Is the gaming room now? So
excellent.
We weren't doing anything else with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I only know from my Facebook searching for cheap ass used gear, because that's what I'm looking for. A lot of them are basically like, they're not really seats or monitor stands. They're kind of like steering wheel shifter pedal holders that you can basically pull up to your office chair and next to your desk. So some of them hold all the bits and some of them hold some of the bits.
Yep.
So you can kind of mix and match with what your needs are.
Or like when we first hooked it up just to try to get it working, we just used a desk and just clamped the wheel and the shifter to the desk. And I sat in my office chair, which I do not recommend using a rolly office chair for this. You also need to find a way, right. You also need to find a way to lock your pedals in place, like so they don't, when you step on the brake, they don't slide away from you. Things like that.
And honestly, that's a good tip for building a race car too. Your brake pedal shouldn't slide away from you.
It is. Yep. Reinforce your firewall. That's good. So there's a lot of things you can do. Again, the budget ranges hugely. You can spend $50,000 on a motion simulator, sure, or you can bolt a crappy wheel and pedals to your desk in front of your laptop, and if your laptop's okay, you can get by. Really, the better the computer, the smoother the visuals are all going to be. So,
yeah, and they've been playing iRacing for many years.
Yeah.
So depending on how much willing you are to lower those graphics resolutions, that's the lower models that we mentioned earlier. If you can't afford the i7 and you get the 5, it still can be done.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it's going to look like Minecraft, and you really want to kind of avoid that because it doesn't really give you a whole lot.
Yeah. Now, I know you mentioned the motion seats, and they're like extremely expensive, like many thousands of dollars. But I've seen people just like literally like, especially you Lemons guys, it's like 2x4s and angle iron.
Yeah.
So, really you can build as much as you want. And I guess really in like my situation, it's like, how much will the wife let the crappy stuff? Ooh, censored myself there. How much crappy stuff are we going to litter the house with?
I see a pile behind you, Jeff, under the stained glass. So
there is
for a
definitely
simulator.
some piles.
Yeah, that you just clear all that out.
But like Egan's setup was all 2x4s, and like on the ground, it couldn't work on a desk. So. But motion simulators, since you're trying to go all in, but you have the Rift, is it worth it? Do you think it would help? Do you think what do you think?
I would love to have a motion simulator if I could, but I wasn't willing to spend that kind of money. What it turns out is I am not as good at racing by visual cues as I am by feel, having done this for 20 years. So I keep spinning out. In the Miata Cup cars that I'm practicing in, I have rolled it twice. I have crashed it pretty regularly. Because it starts to get just a little bit loose, like just enough that I would just put in a dab of Oppo and catch it and be on my way and have a nice time. But I'm not getting the visual cues like I do butt cues.
Yeah, you're missing the buttometer.
Yeah. Totally. And that's apparently a lot of how I drive is that because I'm not seeing the visual things happening until it's too late, and then I'm spinning out.
That's very interesting that is giving you an opportunity for self-reflection of how you drive the car. I find that fascinating.
As I'm going end over end and then sliding on my roof at Laguna, like my 4th lap out in this Miata. It makes you think, how about that? So yes, Jeff.
So I'm going to talk a little bit here because I have never done iRacing. I have never owned an iRacing setup, but I played the hell out of Gran Turismo for a long period of my life.
Oh,
and I always did like the helicopter view, like behind the car, because when you don't have the buttometer, you can't feel the slide, but you can visually see the slide that way. And every time people would be like, Jeff, but you like real driving. Why aren't you looking at the cockpit view? And I would say I can't feel it.
Yeah, I used to do
But I
cockpit
could
view
see
in
it in
Gran
that view,
Turismo
so-
a lot. Like so, but it's
Yeah.
different using thumbsticks than it is actually in the wheel.
I had a steering wheel.
And then seeing it. No, it
I
doesn't
had-
matter. It's different
Yeah.
watching it on TV than having it in your face.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
in
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
what I'm saying,
with,
but you
with the
Go on, Chrissy, sorry.
no, just with it on, you don't realize you're not in the car. Like you just feel like you're in the car. So
the VR is super immersive. Really,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the best part of that.
so to that end, in researching this, I found some seat bases, motion seat bases for. They're right now. I think the cheapest for a new one is $3,000. I'm sure there's some really smart listeners to this show that are already trying to engineer, repurposed hydraulics from an abandoned flight simulator or something. But
Like I'm sure Chris
Given-
Egan could make one in about a week, and for
exactly.
$200.
But to that end, so knowing that technology and popularity always drives the prices down, and now looking at your challenges in adjusting from a tactile and sensory driving style to a visual simulation style, are you guys looking to upgrade in a couple of years?
If the price becomes reasonable, sure, but at the kind of prices it is now, no way, not a chance.
Yeah.
Okay.
we also
Well-
started it a week ago. So
Right.
it's not like we're like ready to race real time. Yes, Jeff.
I mean, for
So,
$3,000, I'll go
and
buy a
this is-
Miata and drive that around. So
we'll do that anyway.
Think about the amount of track time you can get for 3,000. I think really it depends on what it is that you're trying to learn, because are you trying to learn car control? Are you trying to learn visual cues? Are you trying to learn new tracks? I mean, when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that the number one goal that everybody said was imagine being able to learn the tracks before we get there.
and it is
So
hugely
with or
good
without
at
the
that.
buttometer.
Yeah.
Yeah, with or without the butt odometer, no matter how many times you spin, you can learn the tracks. But what I think I'm hearing you say, Chris, is more than just learning the tracks, learning braking points, entry points, friction differences, because they're
Yep.
so close, is a newfound bonus.
Yeah, things like elevation changes and camber changes of the surface that you don't see in videos. Like you can watch videos of
Yeah.
Road Atlanta, and it's like, oh, that's very nice. So then you go there. The first time you come up to that hill, you go, Right,
Holy
right.
crap.
right. And that's the kind of thing you do get here.
Yeah.
Like coming up to the corkscrew at Laguna, you cannot see the other side, and it's impossibly tight. Exactly the way I felt the first time I drove up to it in real life, and I said, "What is this?" So,
And at that track, we watched a ton of video. I made a track. I felt like we were we were pretty well prepared, but still, the first time you went down that hill.
and this really helps for that, which is a nice thing. And if you're, it can help with just general suspension setup and ideas. Like you can just go out and testing. Now, if you're trying to learn suspension setup, great. Change the spring rate. Do something wacky. See how the car drives differently. Then do it the other way. See what happens. So
That's
you can
cool.
use it as a way to test and learn your own knowledge of suspension changes. Not that it's going to directly correlate to your car, but it might be similar. Just the principles.
It also has a with all the stuff that we're doing, if you get damage to the car, it will damage it. So you will have to either go into the pits and get it fixed, or if you don't, then you either see, like, if you hit a wheel, it will make it so that you have a bend in your wheel, so you will see that. So it's not like
you will no
know,
longer
jet-
go straight at straight. It, like, your wheel will have to be turned to go straight, and you can see the front of the car cranched up, and or if you just roll it, you'd have to hit the escape button, and
Does your steering wheel have the force feedback?
yes.
I think all the good ones
Yeah,
these days
but we don't
do.
have like a butt kicker vibration thing going on, which I guess I understand like vibration. Okay, that's fine. If I'm going over the curves, I know what that's like. I guess it's the motion, that's the lack of motion that's really getting me. So anyway,
Well, and maybe the butt kicker vibration would simulate those things.
possible.
Like, yeah.
We're learning. I mean, this is all really new for us. That's why we're kind of talking through it, everybody. We're not saying we're not experts yet. We're just new to this, like most of you all are. So, trying to see what happens. So, last thing, software. We've been mostly talking about iRacing, but there's also Assetto Corsa, R Factor, Project Cars, etc. They're all a little different. All will run on PC. Some will run on a PS4 or an Xbox too. So that's another might be entry level way to get into this if you want to get started with the kind of thing. So look at the options and see what's best. A lot of them have different cars, different tracks, different setups. We kind of picked iRacing as it was the biggest and most polished, and we thought it'd be the easiest to get groups together due to how big it is and kind of ubiquitous. So that's why we
because
picked that.
Assetto Corsa, R Factor, and Project Cars won't run like we won't be able to race each other if you picked up one of those.
I don't know for sure, but I figured iRacing would be the one that the most people would be on if we wanted to connect with people. So that's why we picked that. Just kind of the big easy choice.
As I understand the history of it, iRacing was actually developed by racers, and you have to use the name that is on your subscription credit card. So there's no Flyboy, BOI,
69,
69
versus Leet Noob, so it removes some of the temptation to be a complete clown because your actual name is out there.
And they definitely do that, and they also try to make sure that no one's ruining this as a troll. Really, like you have to earn licenses. Like you start off as a rookie, and then you get your D, C, B, A, etc., and you have to run a certain amount of time at each level being clean to get the next license. So it stops a troll coming in and going into an A level race and just driving backwards,
crashing everything.
Right, exactly. So. Right. So it takes time to work your way up the ladder in races. Like you can't just, I'm gonna spend a weekend and be in A level. It doesn't work that way. Like you have to put time commitment on to get up to the high level stuff. So I have only done test drives so far. That's it. So we'll talk more about the software in a bit. Jeff, you had some other stuff on here?
Yeah. So I am a father who has not enough room in their house, so my house is filled with other people's things that we inherited. so really I'm looking at the minimal setup, my seat will probably be the seat that I'm sitting in now someday when I get to buy everything, and plenty of people are running steering wheels and pedals on their desk in a regular office chair with a couple of screens. Uncle Dave posted a picture of a NASCAR development guy he knows, Ty Majeski. He has a folding chair. Majeski, a folding chair, a single screen on a desk with his shifter and his steering wheel bolted to the desk and the pedals on the floor. So the more you spend, the more you can spend. Chris just dropped, did you break 1,000? Did you come close, Chris?
Oh yeah. I mean, the computer, the wheel, the stand. I mean, yes. That's 1,000. Then we got the Oculus too. So
and you could probably spend 4 or 5 more if you wanted to get motion and kickers and things.
Oh yeah.
So there's a vast, wide level. And you really need to match it to what you have. According to Uncle Dave, this guy Ty kicks his butt a lot, and he has iRacing sponsor and some sort of development NASCAR deal. So,
and he's sitting in a folding chair.
He's sitting in a metal folding chair. Yeah.
Well, he's trying to simulate having a Kirky aluminum seat with no padding.
I think it had a butt pad. It just didn't have any back pad. I'll go look at the picture right now.
My friend Tyler Hoffman, and I've raced with him before too. He had the racer bachelor pad. The basement garage was full of race cars, and the dining room was a motion iRacing setup. But he just had his girlfriend move from Chicago, and they just got an apartment together. And I'm wondering out loud, where's that whole setup going to go? Because I'm pretty sure she's going to say, nope. a number of years ago, I built a really nice simulator for Gran Turismo, and I was using an old seat that I had laying around the garage and a full steering wheel setup from that only worked on the PlayStation. And I did my best to make it not look like garage junk. And I had it set up on nice wooden blocks that I sanded and stained and matched our furniture with. And I set it up in our office. And my wife went, "Wow, you really put a lot of work into this, but get it out. It just can't be here at all."
Oh.
I just want to say that, like, I have been really looking at the used market, and you could get setups in the 250 to 350 range if you're willing to play, not including the computer. I mean, the wheels, pedals,
stand,
chair.
Kind of seat,
yeah. With, and it's not going to be a real seat. It's going to be, an office
some
chair.
kind of chair, right?
Yeah. 250 to 350. So if you already have the computer, if you already, you could get into this without a whole ton of money, but you're going to have to go meet some sketchy guy who's trying to sell you stuff off of Facebook Marketplace. So
and wants to trade you a broken
laptop.
Broken Xbox. Yeah. Exactly.
That's why he's selling the pedals, because his Xbox broke.
So we kind of talked about this a little bit, but
Exactly.
also I would imagine there's plenty of, going back to the discussion we just had, there's plenty of situations where somebody's significant other has now said, yeah, you probably can't have that anymore. And then this is where they sell it on Facebook Marketplace. So that's not actually a bad idea to go look there, because somebody might have had that situation. So we already kind of talked about this, but when you go with the Oculus, make sure you use it and start to understand and play with it before you get into racing, because I think, like we keep talking about how submersive it is, you really just get to understand how it works and feels, and some people really have problems with getting nauseous, and I certainly do with racing. So I didn't, though, when it wasn't racing. When it was not racing, when it was lightsabers and we were playing all kinds of games, watching videos. There's YouTube for Oculus, amazing. So there's a lot of things that you could. Yeah, it was fantastic. So I would suggest doing a lot of those things before you start driving with it. Yes, Mental.
That bothered your stomach, because I can't do those 3D combination rides at like Universal Studios where the screen shows you that you're moving and you're not, because it will get me nauseous in a matter of seconds, and I'm genuinely
that's how it works.
I did not need to hear that. What have you done to battle it?
We're getting used to it mostly. Short stints to kind of get used to what it is, and I think that's some of what it takes. I'm only having a problem after I take it off. Like, I can be in it for an hour and I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I take it off. Yeah. It takes time to get reused to the reality.
Vision, yeah.
Right. Again,
it's
same
way
like
sea legs, right?
It is absolutely like when you get. If I've been on a boat for 2 weeks plus without getting on land, you get back on land, the land is still moving underneath you. Doesn't matter what you do; it just is.
But I have that problem that day on it. Like when the second I get off, I'm still woozy.
Okay.
It's something you're going to have to get used to it if you want to use the VR. So.
Yeah, I'm getting sick while I'm in it, and then as soon as I get out, I'm better. But I've only made it around. I did Summit, Maine. I think I did 4 laps maybe, and then I had to get out. Yep. So it's really something to get used
to. Yikes. So, okay, that frightens me quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll get to more of that in a second too. I just want to talk a little about the software and what you get, and then we'll talk about actually using it a little more. So iRacing for a year is $110 to join it for the year. They do have half price sales like Christmas and Black Friday and stuff. There's a sale right now, actually, half price. So do that. It does come with lots of cars and tracks, all different kinds of tracks, all different kinds of cars. Each software program that you might get is a little different there in what they include and how much variety they have. So when you're shopping around for which platform you want to be on, just look at that kind of thing. So back to iRacing stuff, what's here, you can do unlimited testing, all you want, just to drive around the track. It's a great way to get used to it and things, and that's all up to you. You can change configurations. You can change weather conditions. Like you can go race Laguna in the snow if you want. So, I mean, Because why not?
You could go race Atlanta in the snow. Just
Yeah, we've done that.
sign up for the race.
Yeah.
Only apparently when we're there, because this year, no.
Well, it poured Friday. Anyway, so yeah, like we said before, you have to earn your licenses by running clean at each level. Keep gradually working your way up. The cars variety is everything from a Pontiac Solstice to Indy cars. You've got rallycross, like international rallycross, VW Beetle things, to NASCAR trucks. You've got dirt stocks and dirt modifieds and legends cars, like all the stuff. You name it, it's in there pretty much.
The oval community actually seems to be pretty strong in this.
Okay.
A lot of the tracks and a lot of the dirt tracks and a lot of the modified, whatever TQ, whatever the hell you're running around in a circle in that little track, they seem to have big series and a lot of competition. That's what Uncle Dave and Wartburger Aaron said is why they had iRacing setups.
Interesting. Yeah, it's got everything in there, except that what it doesn't have is anything front-wheel drive, which I'm kind of sad because that's what my race car is front-wheel drive. It's all of ours.
Fire off an email right now to the developers.
Right.
Dear Faitheth.
No, Robot Arms.
Why do you not have
do
front-wheel
not
drive car in the thing?
Exactly.
Right. So,
Why have Honda Civic signed?
Well-
Boy 3337.
yeah.
Listen here, Buttonhead. I need a Honda Civic.
Well, and not even just a Honda Civic. Like, give us something.
Like a
Type R.
be a
A
little-
Type R. I
Something.
feel like that's
I
useful.
mean, it's not Gran Turismo where you can race a Daihatsu, K-Jet, whatever thing it was. Right. It's a little more focused than that, but you start in the Miata, the Solstice, etc. For sports cars. So, the tracks they have, it's got all kinds of things. It comes with things like Laguna Seca, Lime Rock, Summit, Maine.
Summit.
Yeah, a lot of them you've heard of. Also, then you've got dirt ovals. You've got Daytona. You've got, really all kinds of stuff. And if you're really starting to start paying for stuff, you can have Spa-Francorchamps. You can have, you name it. It's all out there. Then the tracks are like $12 for a new track to own it. And the different cars are, $12, I think, too. Except like New Jersey Motorsports Park is an incomplete track. Like the track is good, but like the trees and things are not done. So then that's $5 to get Thunderbolt. So, Jeff.
Question: can you alter the setups? Can you put in the chicane or
Yes.
take out the chicane? Okay.
Yes. New Jersey, it says first chicane, second chicane, both. Like you can put those in for Thunderbolt. When you first turn on Lime Rock, it puts this awful chicane in. It puts the IMSA chicane in, which they put on the uphill because the IMSA cars got so fast up the uphill they were getting air, so they put in this really tight chicane. But that's not the classic kind of sports car line through Lime Rock. So you have to change that. And then you also they have the Big Bend chicane too. Again, part of people were going so fast when they went over the elevation changes, they were getting air. Because Lime Rock was designed with a guy bombing through the woods in his MGTC in the 40s. So
Hell yeah, that's the one with the wooden frame.
exactly. Well, wooden body frame. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, mental.
So what would you say the percentage, not just, I know that primarily we have historically been limits, but what do you say the percentage of tracks that you guys run for NASA, for Champ, for all the stuff you've got planned is available on that simulation? Let's just limit it to the East Coast tracks that you guys would run. I heard Summit, Maine.
Like a third. Summit's there.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Jersey's
Jersey.
there. They have
CMP is there.
Thompson's oval only, not the road course at Thompson, just the oval.
But we had a great time. I actually really enjoyed that.
What?
The dirt.
Oh, that wasn't Thompson. That was something else. Yeah,
Was it?
Yeah, Chrissy and I found a dirt track. We took a dirt stalker out there, and it's fun because as you go, eventually you get dirt spattered up on your goggles. So on your VR, there's dirt on it. So
when Chris,
That's pretty hot.
I had so much
that's-
dirt on my helmet, and
that's
Chris
so
got
cool.
in after I did, and he was like, "Seriously?" Like the whole thing was full of mud.
you got to go
To
in your
be
pits to
honest,
get the
have you
dirt
guys
off.
tried to? Did you try to wipe the Oculus with your hand?
No.
Now that'd be cool if it knew you were doing it and it cleared it.
It smeared it.
Or
No.
smeared it.
It's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we started trying all kinds of things just to get a tray. Aside from doing normal sports car courses in Solstices and Miatas, I did the NASCAR truck at Daytona, which is just get in fourth, put your gas on the floor, and make small steering inputs and stay
Daytona
on
was not
the banking.
best choice.
Stay on the groove. Stay on the
No,
groove.
we're trying different things though,
Right.
so that's why we decided it was
And
worth
well,
trying.
Now, if you get Daytona, do you get like the road course and the oval, or
Yeah,
do you get one or
you
the
can
other?
change. You can do different configurations. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I
You
did
hear that,
just
Donnie?
like I did just a normal Daytona oval in a NASCAR because I said, well, this is completely different. Let me try this. And so I did that. And
It was not very
boring.
fun.
And then I did an IndyCar and the same thing. It's exactly the same except 220 miles an hour instead of 180. So
And
And
you're
we did-
lower to the ground.
Well, we
Yeah.
decided that it was probably. I'm sure it's going to be more fun with other cars, but since we're just
Absolutely.
test driving now, we're still trying to figure out how to make it go around. So once you've got other people around, I'm sure it's going to be more fun.
Oh,
but
yeah.
for the test
Absolutely.
drive right now, not fun.
yeah, and I did like Global Rallycross and I rolled that too and crashed. And stuff. And yeah, we talked about the dirt track, and I tried a whole bunch of things just to see how it was, and it's fun to try things that are new. So, but I can see that we can have some fun with this on our normal sports car stuff too. But hey, it'd be fun to have a E1R dirt track night. Like let's go out to the dirt track.
Hell yeah!
just for something different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is a great
Bruce
idea.
would kick all of our asses, and
Oh,
then we'd
yeah.
all be embarrassed. And then he'd have the Oculus Rift on, and he'd puke in his suit, but keep driving.
Yeah.
He'd
And
be
you
yelling.
could do that. No
Yeah.
He'd be
problem.
yelling at Darren, "I'm coming in." He'd be like, "I'm in North Carolina. Don't bother."
So we're eating ice cream. You can't come in now.
Yeah. Greg, like you would pull in, and Greg wouldn't stop watching The Masked Singer.
Yeah.
While he's, I'm coming in. Okay. Yeah, we're almost ready.
So it's fun. Chrissy, what do you think of it? What, you tried it out too.
Yeah. So, we didn't really mention we had some struggles trying to get it set up. You did a fair amount of Google searching, and we were having some problems with the connectivity on the steering wheel wouldn't work. It would not didn't recognize the pedals. We just were having some issues with the setup. We finally got it fixed, but that was a little bit of a struggle. You were excited to use it, and all of a sudden you're just like, none of this works.
And that was
you
mostly
plug it in,
PC
and it-
stuff. It was trying it wasn't recognizing it. It wasn't recognizing when stuff
you had
was
to get a
doing it.
driver.
I did. I had to get drivers because you actually have to do that with PC. Is go out. I would like a driver, please, and it doesn't just happen.
Yes.
So
So
and the Oculus,
There's a
you
little-
have to have a very special cord to make it work. It has to be a USB A to C, but 3.0 specs, and those are hard to find. To get one that works that
so
way.
that took
And
us
then you
even
have to-
longer.
Right. Then you have to
Sure.
tell the computer you want to
Yeah.
use the Oculus for this instead of the monitor. So like you're in with the monitor, which is ours is to my left, and the mouse is to my left. And I'm trying to get it ready, but you have to hold the Oculus facing forward so it knows where home.
He kept saying
forward
like,
is.
why can't I see only half the screen? Is because every time he would look over, he would move the Oculus to that direction.
And if I hit-
No,
if
you
I
have
hit-
to tell it we're straight
if I hit
ahead.
go
He
is
needs
right.
to know where it's straight is.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just we're struggling. I love the Oculus. I have a great time. Like when we were playing with it before the racing, we were having a really good time with it. So that's fun.
Who's the sword master? Who's the lightsaber sword master?
I was playing other games. I was dancing.
That's not the question.
No.
Who is the lightsaber
we
sword
haven't.
master?
We need more people to try it, but probably Len so
Yeah.
far. Let's say Len.
Probably Len. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were, and my dad was playing too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Well, I can't wait
Racing-
to visit to try it out.
racing is still up in the air. I'm sure it'll be fun, but I don't get super excited to go play because I know it's just going to make me sick. It's really, and I start getting sick when I start spinning. As soon as if you're driving straight and it's fine, you're thinking about where you're going on the track next. But as soon as you tank slap, that motion is where it starts to I talk about throwing up actively.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Because
the
we're
thing
so
I'm
used to
struggling
how it's supposed to feel, and we
Yes.
don't feel that.
Well, But actually, that's exactly what's happening in your brain, and I'm sure Mental will chime in on this. It's when your visual, with the visual information that your eyes are getting are not matching what your inner ear balance is doing.
Yeah.
Mental, how am I doing?
Yeah, no, that is the your eyes are arguing with your balance receptors in your inner ear.
Yes.
And I don't know why the stomach bothers to get involved in that. It would be so much easier if the stomach would just stay out of the discussion. Chris?
Yeah, like when I used to do offshore sailboat passages, the only time I'd really have a problem is if I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd get out of my bunk and stand up, and it's a sailboat, so it's heeled over 20 degrees. So I'm standing and the room isn't straight. And like, where is it? And that used to just throw me for a loop. It was just really
because
wake
your
up,
brain thinks
run
it
for the
should
deck.
be straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it was because I was waking up.
Yeah,
I was
so
still
I
in
think,
animal brain mode and not in like logic of this is how it's supposed to be.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah.
sorry.
So
Sailboat, yes.
my couple tips, if you when we get started, I think it's been helpful to start on tracks, so that is one less thing you have to learn as you're trying to figure out set up. And I was like basically power shifting when I was shifting, because it was just normal shifting, but that we have a short shifter set up, so it actually you have to shift slower for it to recognize it. So things like that are helpful, that if you know where you're going, it's better to learn all of the inputs and how you react to all of it. So that would be one of my suggestions to get it. And really I can only do a couple laps at a time.
I feel like that's going to make us smoother in the car, though. If you're not like trying to, angry shift or manhandle the car, you're learning to have the delicate inputs.
I think it's more of, I usually do have very delicate inputs. It's that I was shifting normally, like in my car, kind of. And you have to be much more careful and slower than I was planning. Like if you're just going down a straight, I'm going to start in first and then shift, pretty quickly to get up to fourth. But you have to do it slower and easier on this setup than I do like in our race car or in my car.
A lot of it's the shifter recognizing the gear changes. You have to go just a little slower than we would normally. So it actually works out all right for me with mechanical sympathy. But Jeff's going to get in it, and he's not going to be able to make a gear change because he goes slam the gear like he's drag racing a talent, and it's not going to work.
What I was about to say.
Right.
It sounds like from the recent video review that Chrissy and I really need this.
No, you just need to stop. You just need to stop downshifting as often. You don't need third gear. Fourth is good.
I know.
Good.
Thompson was a bit of a struggle for me to find the right gear. Much better in New Hampshire, I promise.
Great. Fantastic.
We don't have video to show it, so it's fine.
Besides the point.
Right.
Do we have anything else on iRacing? I'm so jealous. I do not have any kind of iRacing setup. I will be
I'm
saving
totally with you on that one,
my
Jeff.
shekels.
Totally
well, just come out and
see
try
what
it.
I can put together for the post-Christmas sale.
Wow.
Lab at school.
Ooh.
What about your lab?
I feel
at
Jeff
school?
putting on another clinic for his for some of his students.
Right.
So we missed what you said about your lab at school because everyone got really slow until Mental shut his video off. So keep your video off, Mental, because that's working nicely. What about your lab, Jeff?
I said we have an esports lab at school.
Oh, okay.
That has wonderful machines, and I have access to it because it doesn't lock 24/7. So I just got to buy a wheel and bring it over.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So anyway,
we'll
anything else on iRacing before we move on?
No, we'll have more as we learn more about this. Really, that's what this is all about. Is we have no idea what we're doing, so we're going to figure this out together.
And eventually,
if you go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, and eventually we'll be hosting nights, E1R nights, and you can all come aboard and embarrass us in real time, not just yelling at your radio in your car.
Exactly. And before that happens, folks, if any of you find one of these setups underneath your Christmas tree, or Santa or Krampus or whoever brings you one of these, feel free to show off your setup and get a hold of us on any of our social media.
Now it's time for Just the Tip.
That's still pretty funny. Okay, so this
I need
is
some
a.
music in the background. We're like, okay, go on.
You could sing it and do the same thing. That'd be hilarious. Okay.
Dun, 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 dun.
Sure.
Now it's time
Okay,
for just the tip.
Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, so don't be dumb, don't drive impaired or distracted. So this is a normal PSA, but especially around the holidays, you might be going to parties, other people might be if you aren't. So just be smart and don't drive impaired. Plan ahead if you can. You've got options. Call a family member or friend. They will be happy that you did. If possible, get an Uber or Lyft. Don't think about what it might cost. It will be more expensive if you die. And I added distracting to this in addition to this impaired list because driving distracted can seem like you are impaired to other drivers, and because if you're swerving all over the place, you could hit something or someone just as you would if you were impaired. So do whatever you need to do. Pull over. Do it, handle it, not while you're driving, and as I said it, and forget it. You're listen to my voice and think about that when you're doing it. We don't need any more tragedy in our lives, so don't add to it by doing something stupid. Lastly, also, check your road rage. So I wrote this earlier. I'm driving home. There were slow people in the left lane. I was getting annoyed. There's a lot of people out wherever you're traveling. Just take a deep breath, calm down, stop yelling at the drivers that are driving too slowly, and just deal with it. Get there.
If you feel like being angry, just put on our show and yell at us.
That's right.
Yell at me.
I was also going to say, distracted driving, do not tend to your dog in the back seat. Even if you're a Tesla.
Yes, or your crying child or anything like that. Don't do it.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? We're going to move on to my favorite part of the show. Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Virtual Everyone Racers. We'll hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer. Even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. Do robot arms while you type it. That would be helpful. If you have any questions,
speak with a lisp.
Yes. Listen here, Faith. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again, and until next week, where we're going to be doing our end of the year show. Wow, has it really been another year? Woo!
Yeah. Woo.
Another year of keep the shiny side up. Unless there is no shiny side, then just keep the wheels down.